Good morning, everyone. Welcome to August Catalyst. Thank you for being with us today. And I want to thank you guys for being here. I know a lot of us are from different backgrounds, different positions. If you guys don't know, if it's your first time, Catalyst is really to bring, community leaders and influencers into one room. And I just want to share for those of us joining for the first time, kind of the purpose of Catalyst is kind of to get everybody from diverse backgrounds, get in here and have these difficult conversations that sometimes are a little bit uncomfortable to have out in public. So with that, I also want to give you guys our hope for Catalyst of what we expect you guys kind of to get out of this and just to continue these conversations. We hope that you guys kind of work together. We know that sometimes it's hard to get everybody from different backgrounds into the room, so we hope that this space kind of provides somewhere where you can have these open conversations. And I want to ask two things of you guys before we get started. If you can please give our Facebook page a like, and also make sure to sign in at the sign-in sheets on your table. And before we get started, I do want to give a thank you to the sponsors who kindly help us out and keep Catalyst going, and a special shout out to Valley First. I want to make sure we don't lose our sponsorships, so I'm going to read it from the paper. So thank you to Valley First Credit Union, working together to provide, let me start over. Valley First Credit Union's mission is working together to provide superior service for our members. So thank you to Valley First and our other sponsors. So today's format is going to be a little bit different. We are hoping to switch it up, so I'm going to go ahead and invite Leah and Mike on up to get us started.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm looking forward to today, giving you guys a chance to learn how to disagree better. My name is Leah Ashford, and we're going to be giving you some tools and methods today to help you learn how to interact with the people you disagree with so that you can keep communication open with your family, with friends, with colleagues, and that you can maintain connection with them.
All right. That's what we're going to do. You ready? No. We have some honesty in the room. Good. So I want to first thank Noemi. And, when you're not used to being up in front of people, sometimes you forget to introduce yourself. So she did a great job talking about
Noemi.
what we do here, but Noemi is incredible. She is one of the youngsters who is involved in collaborative work here in this area. So thank you for kicking things off this morning. My name's Mike Gunnarsson. If you don't know me, Catalyst usually is a place where we highlight collaborative work that is happening in the community. We get so much negative from the media, and that's what we hear. But here at Catalyst, we want to say what is great that is happening in our community. But there are certain months where we switch from highlighting collaborative work to really focusing on leadership skills. And this morning is one of those. We're going to spend some time saying, what kind of leadership skills do we need in this time to address the things that are happening? And so as Leah said a few minutes ago, today we're gonna focus on disagreeing better. Anybody need that? If you didn't raise your hand, you're lying. No. We're gonna look at the art of kind and courageous dialogue. And that can be a difficult thing.
Yes. And the hope is because we've seen people pull away from each other. It's gotten so toxic out there, certainly on social media. People have just gone silent. But then we don't learn from each other. So that's why it's so important that we actually learn how to have these conversations and keep communication lines open.
All right. So we have become very much aware of how divided our community is. At least it seems pretty obvious to me how divided we become. Political disagreements are not anything new. They've been around for years and years. But it seems like things have ramped up to another level. In the age of social media, where it's easy to take pot shots at somebody and not be in the same room or the same area. And then especially with the pandemic, the last 5 years just seems to have made it worse that that disagreement has become very vicious. So what a lot of times we saw was perspective, somebody sharing their perspective, and then somebody chiming in to help either clarify or help correct. And it has ceased being helpful dialogue. What it has actually become is conversations have become arguments, sarcasm has replaced curiosity, and dialogue does not take place. It is now name-calling and dismissiveness. But again, let me say, this isn't anything new, but it seems like it's become more drastic, more intense. And so what we wanted to do was really start with a video. And it's interesting how many of you probably will be able to relate, especially maybe from last year or the last few years, where politics can actually bring conflict in the home. So in a humorous way, let's watch this introduction.
Believe me, if there was an emergency here, I'd give you this check without thinking twice about it. But right now, I'd like to use the money for something special.
Something special, what?
Well, like getting Gloria that winter coat she's been needing.
Oh, Michael, really?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, honey.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. A winter coat. How much is that going to take?
I don't know, how much?
Around $80.
$80.
Well, all right. What are you going to do with the other round about $200?
Well, that I'd like to use for something really important.
Like what?
Like giving it to the McGovern campaign.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding, Arch. There's a real emergency. Don't you see that the election's only 2 weeks away and they need the money desperately?
Do you mean to say that you'd give $200 to them people and forget all about your own family here?
Arch, I'm doing it for my family because I want to keep us living in a democracy.
What the hell are you talking about?
I'm talking about the fact that the Republicans have over $30 million while the Democrats had to put on a telethon just to keep their heads above water.
Your head is underwater. You hear this guy, Gloria? Are you going to stand there? Do you hear what your husband is saying? You're going to let him do that?
Why not?
Arch, don't you see? The party with the money can afford to buy TV and radio time to get their message across to the people. The other party doesn't stand a chance. Before you know it, you've lost the two-party system. And gee, it's getting like politics in America is only for the rich.
Who's been feeding you that commie crapola?
President Eisenhower said that.
He did not. Eisenhower was a great president who never said nothing.
He did too, Daddy. Eisenhower made that statement in 1968. I saw it in the Reader's Digest. Oh, I wonder if they paid him $100.
And I wonder if you could get the supper on the table. $100. I can't believe it. I can't believe that you give $200 to them McGoverns.
Why not, Arch? I want to help him get his message across.
I can tell you McGovern's message in 3 words.
What?
I want to be president. Message ended.
Well, McGovern should be president. Nixon hasn't kept any of his promises. He promised to end the war, to reduce unemployment, and to stop inflation.
Don't be picking on a man over minor details like that. The American people don't elect a president over that stuff anyhow. They don't like a guy like McGovern who's running around changing his mind all the time. They want a man like Nixon who don't change for nothing.
You're right about that, Arch. He keeps making the same mistakes over and over again.
All right. So some of you are totally unaware of what that even was. But some of you can actually really reflect with the tone and the tenor of those conversations. We actually heard comments. I've heard comments about, I'm not sure I want to go to Thanksgiving with my parents because it could end in that kind of conversation. So today, that's what we're wanting to address.
And it's amazing, isn't it, how familiar that conversation sounds? Because often, many of us have been part of it. We were told way back when that you should never discuss religion or politics because it could lead to contention. However, I think the fact that we decided not to discuss those things means we don't have the skills. We're not good at it now when we need to be, and we probably should have been learning how to have those conversations all along. Because as Mike said, often it's pulling families apart or causing them not to want to be together instead of knowing how to come, be with your family, have the conversation, and still learn how to maintain connection. Because if we keep pulling away from these conversations or just staying silent, we're never going to learn from each other. We're never going to hear a broader perspective of what's going on in the world to find actual better solutions that help more people. So we need to learn how to engage in these conversations. The good news is there are different organizations out there. Oh, we flipped it already. Different organizations out there that are helping people start to come together to have these conversations. These are just two that we're going to be looking at their methods today. One of them is called 3 Practices. The other one is called Braver Angels, and I participated in a few of the events by Braver Angels. And we're going to help you understand how they get people who radically disagree in the same room and learn how to listen to each other and learn from each other. And the first one we're going to be looking at is the methods from 3 Practices. And what they say you should do is come to the conversation curious, to learn more about how the other person sees things, to then stay engaged, even if it gets uncomfortable, and then be willing to stop comparing your best to the other side's worst, because every side has some good and some bad points. Don't just talk about your good and all their bad, but learn how to stop comparing. So we're going to look at each one of these more in depth so we can learn how to do this better. And I'm going to start off by looking at what I think is the most important piece is deciding to come to the conversation with a new approach. I think most of us, me included, come to a conversation wanting to make sure the other person understands the pieces they must not have or must not know, or the facts they must not have, because if they had those facts, they would see it the way I see it. And so you want to share or teach or instruct maybe in the conversation, but instead they're saying, come to the conversation prepared to first ask questions, to understand and learn more about how the other person thinks. Even if you may have an Uncle Bob who talks about crazy things at your family events, and decide this time that you're going to actually step up to him, have a conversation, ask questions, and find out what in his life experience or his work experience is causing him to care so much about the issue he's spouting off about. Because if you can learn more about why this matters so much to him, you might then be able to connect that with other people who also see the world the way he does, or the issue the way he does. Maybe they've had some of the same work experiences, or losing work, or going through the recession, whatever it might be, that's causing them to also see the issue the way they do. And we can, again, start to find some of those better solutions with each other. A key part of this process, of course, just being curious is hard for most of us. But 3 Circle Partners says it's important to then ask clarifying questions. So when somebody is talking about something you don't disagree with, instead of correcting them, instead ask questions like, can you tell me more about? Or help me understand why, or when did you come to this conclusion? Ask real questions to get real information, and not like the bottom one, don't ask sarcastic questions, like how in the world could you ever see it this way? But instead ask real questions to try to truly understand where the other person's coming from. Even if you don't agree and you don't end up agreeing at the end of it, it'll help you be maybe more sympathetic or empathetic with their perspective. And they have found, Three Circle Partners, over the years as they're doing these seminars with people, that if you're struggling to find a question you can ask, to start with the words, "I'd be curious to know," and then finish it, usually helps you ask more of a real question and less of a sarcastic question. To say, "I'd be curious to know how you came to that conclusion," or "I'd be curious to know what your source material is because I'd like to research it or learn more about it." And hopefully this curiosity can lead us to better understand each other.
All right. So the first practice that is important for us to help disagree better is to stay curious. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in a hard conversation. Maybe it starts out just kind of, you're tiptoeing around something that's maybe a little bit sensitive, and somebody says something, and suddenly the tension starts to grow. I don't know about you, but for me, I notice triggers by either a racing mind or a churning stomach. Okay, I start to get nervous, and suddenly then I'm kind of in panic mode, or I'm getting mad. You ever been there? I don't know what your response to that is, but mine is I tend to shut down. That's kind of how it's how I work. I'm conflict avoidant. And so I don't run into conflict. So either I want to leave, I'll shut down. But if it's really bad, I get angry. And that really is what the second practice that we're going to talk about is called staying engaged. So first you want to stay curious, but then you want to stay engaged. Staying engaged really means choosing to remain physically, emotionally, and mentally in the conversation. I'm going to stay there. It is not a statement of agreement. And I think that's a lot of times what we think, well, if I sit in this conversation, they're going to think I agree with them. It's not a statement of agreement. It's not a statement of approval. And it's not even a statement that I have to stay silent. It is resisting the fight or flight sense within me. Now, one author has said this: real connection does not happen in echo chambers. It happens in tension. I've done enough marriage counseling and pre-marriage counseling where people will come to me and they are in conflict, and others are saying, this is really bad. This marriage is headed for, it's going to be bad. But what I have found is that conflict handled well actually can build a marriage. Conflict handled correctly can actually be a beneficial thing. In respectful disagreement, hear that key word, respectful disagreement, we are stretched, we are sharpened, and we are shaped. When we stay engaged, we choose presence over panic. And really the message that we're sending is, you matter even if we disagree. You matter. What we are having right here, even though there's tension, what matters more than agreement is that I value you as a human being. That's really where things have broken down in today's society, is that we don't value other people. So, if you're like me and you feel those triggers, so for me it's the churning stomach or the racing brain, there are a couple of things that you can do, practical helps, to actually work through this. The first is to breathe. Take a deep breath. Pause before you react. The second is to ask clarifying questions, like Leah was just saying. Help me to understand. Where are you coming from? And the third is really to name the discomfort. There's something powerful about being able to name it. This is hard for me to hear, but I want you to know I want to stay engaged. I want to talk this through. You are not giving up your convictions. You are choosing relationship over reaction. So the second principle that we want to share today is this staying engaged. Stay curious, stay engaged. Now, as we move on to the third one, I want us to be honest here, because I think a lot of times in these conversations, what we see happening is if somebody like me messes up, or somebody that I agree with doesn't necessarily represent themselves well, what do we naturally say? We say things like, well, nobody's perfect, right? Well, they're not really like that. They didn't really mean that. But if somebody we disagree with, messes up, what do we say? Did you see that? That's what they're really like. Did you see that? How could you believe, how could you associate with someone like that? The third practice really addresses this. It is stop comparing your best with their worst. We give ourselves the benefit of the doubt and we hold others to their worst. When we compare best intentions with worst behaviors, we create emotional distance and we make real dialogue almost impossible. So, one author has made this statement. He says, if I only ever show you the best version of me and I only ever see the worst version of you, I will never see you clearly. And more importantly, I will never treat you fairly. Stop comparing your best with their worst. Build conversations rooted in humility and grace.
So, at this point, you may start saying, okay, I have this conversation, I get to know more about somebody, do we have to come to an agreement? And the thing is, you don't. You just need to come to a place of better understanding of each other and have that be your focus and have that be your intent. Even with family members or friends, I know my friend Tina and I have been friends a long time, and we voted on total opposite sides. And we would sometimes have difficult conversations, but then we could watch The Bachelor together as well. So finding ways to keep the communication and the connection open is what's important here. Of course, after all this listening and asking, you may be saying, when do I get to share my point of view? And so I thought I would quickly just go over Braver Angels. Their method is, of course, they start with the listening, they start with the questions, but then they say at a certain point, once you've asked enough questions and you feel like you understand, you should acknowledge what you're hearing the other person say. So what I hear you saying is, that this matters to you because of this and this and this. And if they say yes, great, you can move on. If they say no, you ask a few more questions until you go, okay, so this matters and this matters. Once they feel heard, that's when you can say, would you be open to hearing my perspective? And if they say no, what Braver Angels says is then don't share it, because you're not going to convince them if they're not open to hearing it. But if they, usually at that point, if they know they've been heard by you and you get where they're coming from, they'll often say, yes, go ahead, share your perspective. And that's where you can then respectfully share how you see it differently. Not lecturing, not judgmental, but sharing your side and your perspective. But today, we're going to give you guys a chance to practice this. And we are not going to go to the pivot part and the share perspective, but actually give you the chance to practice asking good questions, because I think that's the part we're all not that great at. So 3 practices, the way they handle it is they have the first person in a group will share for 2 minutes only, and they have somebody time it, because they found if they only give them 2 minutes, then people get it down to the essentials, the things that really matter to them, the important points. Then they give another person the chance to ask a true clarifying question, and then give that person sharing their perspective a minute to answer the question. And so we're going to give you guys a chance to do that in just a moment. But first, Mike and I thought we'd demonstrate for you what that will look like.
Leah,
Yes.
thanks for letting me use your restroom. I just need to let you know that I did you a favor, and your toilet paper was on the wrong way on the roll, and so
Okay.
I switched it for you because I know that you wouldn't like all the other morons who put their toilet paper on going on the backside, down the backside. Why would anybody ever put the toilet paper on going on the backside? That just is stupid. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I just wanted to know, I helped you out. I know it was an oversight because you would never have done that on purpose. But so, yeah, I helped you out.
So you turned it around so it's coming over the front.
I did, yes. Yeah, the right way.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to pause here for a moment. I'm thinking this man is crazy. Who does it over the front? Does he know what life is like in my household? You would never put it over the front. But I'm not going to say all that. I'm going to try to ask a question. Tell me a little bit more about why you think it's important to have it come over the front.
Okay, well, there's really a couple of reasons. First is, if it's coming over the front, it's more hygienic. So, you can see right where the toilet paper is and you can just grab it. It's just right there. If it goes down the back, you've got to go around the backside to search for it. You don't know who's been in the bathroom before you and what has been on their hands as they've reached back behind. It's not hygienic to have it go down the backside. Also, it's just convenient. If you're in a place where you can't see very well, maybe it's dark, you just having it on the front, just being able to grab it, it's better.
Well, can you tell me when you first decided this was so important?
Well, I've always felt that way. But a couple years ago, I was doing some reading because, at CMN, we're readers. Did you know that in 1891, Seth Wheeler, the inventor of the perforated toilet paper, shows that it goes down the front? It goes over the top and down the front. That's how he invented it. And if you look at most hotels, public restaurants, households that really care, it goes over the top.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is because of the germ issue and because of the original patent for the toilet paper, that's why you think it should be over the top.
Yeah, of course.
Would you be open to hearing my perspective?
Sure, I guess.
So I have cats in my household, and they used to always bat it down when it was over the front, and I would end up with a whole pile of toilet paper all over the floor. And I lost, I don't know how many rolls of toilet paper and money. So I finally found when I put it under the back, then they bat it and it just spins around, but it doesn't go all over the floor. So that's why I do it that way. It
becomes a cat toy.
It does.
You know what? That's pretty genius.
Yay, and scene. Yes. By the way, I agree with him. I like it over the front, but whatever. All right, so now we're going to give you guys the chance to practice this. And I'm going to talk you through the instructions first. So we're going to put you in groups. Don't start getting in groups, moving around until I talk you through the instructions. So we're going to have you get in groups of 3. And if you're sitting with people if you could please get up and move and sit with somebody you don't know, that'd be great. I'm not going to make you do that, but that'd be great.
Not yet.
But you do need to be in groups of 3. And what you're going to do is in that group, we're going to give everybody the chance to practice. So you'll pick who's the first person who wants to share their perspective on an issue. It could be any current hot topic, something maybe you've been wanting to talk about. This is your chance. People they don't get to argue back, so you get to say whatever you want for 2 minutes. And then pick who's going to be the second person who will ask the clarifying question and get the chance to practice. And the third person is going to keep time. So if you can all have your phones out and find your clock, in the clock there is a timer. Set it for 2 minutes, then set it for 1 minute, and have somebody on the team keep time. And if you're not quite sure about what topic you want to talk about, and in this room, maybe we agree on a lot of things. We all care about the community, that sort of a thing. But maybe you can choose to take the opposite side as something to really give the person the chance who's asking questions to practice controlling their emotions, taking deep breaths, right, and thinking of a real question to get real information. But here's some topics. You know, you can pick to talk about if you want to: vaccines, education standards, medical care, climate change, ICE, transgenders getting medication as an adolescent. There's a lot of issues to choose from, people out here, that you can pick to talk about for 2 minutes, and then give somebody the chance to ask a true clarifying question. And then I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes each round. And so if the person maybe sharing for 2 minutes is done in 1 minute, they ask the question, you have a little more time, let somebody ask a second question. So you still get that chance to keep asking questions. And then I'll say 5 minutes up, decide who's sharing next, who's asking question next, and have you guys switch.
I would encourage you to really monitor what's going on inside of you. Okay, so that's part of the secret of being able to have these conversations, is what's going on inside of me. So be aware of that.
Yep. So let me go back to the things. I'm going to let you guys, give you a couple minutes, stand up. You can come use an empty table, or if you've got 3 people at a table who don't know each other, you can stay there. Or you can move your chairs off to the side and sit in a circle. Okay? Find 3 people to have this conversation with.
All right, let's do it.
Ready, go. Okay, guys, start to wrap up your conversations. I hope that was a good experience. And we have a video we'd like to show you of somebody who did this for real.
Hey, so you guys are engrossed in conversations now, which is great. Hopefully this has done something to actually stir relationship among those who have shared. I want to do just some quick feedback, really quick, by the raise of hands. Okay, some of you are still engaged in conversation. Let me ask this. How many of you found it difficult, just by raise of hands, how many of you found it difficult to just sit and listen and keep your mouth shut? Okay. All right, thank you for being honest. Okay, how many of you had a difficult time thinking of clarifying questions? Anybody? Okay, a couple of you. All right. How many of you actually learned something new from a different perspective? Okay,
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very good. So, I want to help us grab hold of the power of this approach. It's important for us to be monitoring what's going on inside of us so we can stay engaged. It's important for us to be thinking about how to really understand, and that comes through clarifying questions. But we've done this kind of in a fun setting. Hopefully it's been an enjoyable morning. But I really want to stress the importance that this works. Some of you are saying, what change is actually going to happen? I want you to know it doesn't typically happen in one conversation on 15 minutes. But this kind of relationship where you build a place where you can be honest and genuine and transparent, and then allow them to do the same thing back to you, can really bring you to a place of addressing issues. So we want to leave you with a video that shows you the true story of somebody who actually used this approach and it made a difference. There's a man, his name is Daryl Davis. He's an African-American man, grew up in the Northeast, and as a boy did not understand, experienced some persecution, some mistreatment because of his skin color. And he found himself as a boy asking, why would somebody think I am not worth having a relationship with simply because I have a different skin color? what ended up happening was that became a lifelong pursuit, a question that he had, and he was seeking to ask people that question. Why do you look at me differently simply because my skin tone is different than yours? I want you to hear his story from his mouth, just kind of a quick summary of what happened when he went to somebody that he said, I'm going to tackle this head on with somebody that I know does not approve of me. And so he sought out the national leader of the Ku Klux Klan to start a relationship with. Let's roll the video and see what happens.
I want to show it to you right now, and I want you to pay particular attention to what Mr. Kelly says. He says that even though he and I would do different things together, it did not change his views on the Klan, because his views on the Klan had been cemented in his mind for years. Then he goes on to say how he believes in separation of the races, because he finds that to be in the best interests of all races. But listen to what he says about respect towards the end of the clip. Please show the clip.
Davis is one of the few African Americans you will ever find attending a KKK rally. More than attending, he is welcome.
I got more respect for that black man than I do you white niggers out there.
It's been a tough day for the Klan. Their Maryland rally found many local residents rejecting the message of white separatism. After it's over, Darrell Davis hangs around backstage with his friend, Klan wizard Roger Kelly. It's not unusual for blacks and whites to be friends, but it is unusual to find a black man and a Klan leader chatting pleasantly over an orange soda after a Klan rally. The relationship started over a book Davis was writing. His secretary set up an interview with Roger Kelly, but didn't tell him Davis was black. They talked and talked some more. Davis learning about the Klan, Kelly learning about Davis.
We get to know one another and we do different things, you know. It hasn't changed my views about the Klan, you know, because my views on the Klan's been pretty much cemented in my mind for years.
Kelly and his Klan friends go to hear Davis and his band. And Davis goes to their rallies.
I sat on the front row and listened to each Klansman speak. Some things I agreed with, other things I did not agree with.
Davis thinks that his presence promotes badly needed understanding.
Hate stems, I believe, from fear of the unknown. And I think this is all across the board, regardless of whether it's a Klansman or anything else.
But he has no illusions about the Klan. If he did, his friend would be quick to disabuse them.
And I believe in separation of the races. I believe that's in the best interest of all races.
Does he really? Or has friendship transcended the color barrier? Listen to Kelly at a Klan rally.
I'm a far right man to hell and back, because I believe in what he stands for and he believes in what I stand for. A lot of times we don't agree with everything, but at least he respects me to sit down and listen to me. And I respect him to sit down and listen to him.
The strange relationship of a KKK wizard and his black buddy. In Washington, I'm Carl Rochelle, CNN Sunday Morning.
Respect is the key. Sitting down and talking, not necessarily agreeing, but respecting each other to air their points of view. Because of that respect and my willingness to listen and his willingness to listen to me, he ended up leaving the Klan, and there's his robe right there. I am a musician, not a psychologist or sociologist. If I can do that, anybody in here can do that. Take the time to sit down and talk with your adversaries. You will learn something, and they will learn something from you. When two enemies are talking, they're not fighting, they're talking. It's when the talking ceases that the ground becomes fertile for violence. So keep the conversation going. Thank you all very much.
I don't have much else to add to that. That is the power of having these types of conversations, and hopefully getting the chance to practice a little this morning, coming to a conversation to listen, to be curious, to ask questions, to truly understand where someone else is coming from, and being willing to see their best, not just their worst. Hopefully we can all learn how to have better conversations in our community. Thank you very much. Marvin, if you want to.
Yeah. Thanks, you two. And we are going to continue, at least City Minister Network, and probably most of you in the room, we're going to continue to continue to work hard to create spaces where we can have conversations and candidness and frankness. And to create friendships where I can go to you and say, let's have this conversation. Because I have some questions I want to ask you about. Thank you, Jose. And yet, so I was going to wrap this up this morning, and I am. And I had some thoughts ahead of time, but they're all changed. Because I'm sitting in the back and I'm thinking, yeah, but, and what if? You probably had yeah, buts and what ifs. And how about this situation? How about that situation? And what happens if... I want to encourage you to capture those thoughts. And find somebody you could walk those things through. Things like this. Mike mentioned early, pay attention to what's happening inside you. So when I get into difficult situations and uncomfortable ones, capturing what's happening inside me. Sometimes people say things to me and, wait, did you mean to say, in my mind I'm thinking, did you mean to say it that way? And I'm learning to stop the conversations. And there are times when very kindly I'll say, I have to set some clarity. Do you want to have a conversation with me or do you want to fight with me? Help me understand here. I want to know what are we doing here? And I'll proceed, you know. Sometimes I don't have the energy to want to fight with you, so hey, thanks, man. Have a good day. But I get to get some very kind clarity. I'm not going to get involved emotionally with the conversation, so now all of a sudden I'm not paying attention. So yeah, buts and what ifs. Make sure you're paying attention to yourself. One thing I do say quite a bit to people, because in around community change and impact, there's different philosophies of how to do it. I have to care, let me start over. I want to care about the soul of the person he sees things differently than me. So I don't give myself the freedom to say, Noemi, you're a MFer. You know, you're stupid, because I'm destroying that person. And so I need to be able to at least take a step back. Is my motive love? I mean, this is all happening within split seconds in my brain. And that question, am I responding to Dirk or somebody because I'm angry and I want to get back at you and get even or try to act like I'm right? Or do I love you enough? Is love my motive, which means I'm going to play the long game and have a conversation and try to hear? So those are all the yeah, buts, and what ifs that happen in a lot of our brains in just nanoseconds. I mentioned the yeah, buts, and what ifs too. So is my motive in this conversation love? To know my boundaries. You know, there are some people that I just can't have conversations with. I just can't. So I'm hoping somebody else, one of you, will be able to reach that person or have a safe conversation. There are just some people it's just not going to happen for whatever reason there is. And so know your boundaries. There are just some people you personally, Marvin, can't. We're not going to get anywhere, so I'll let somebody else hopefully get to them. Another yeah, but, or what if is that I'm going to play the long game and that the relationship is a priority. Let's play the long game. So if I think I'm going to get somebody to change their mind, so boy, I feel better. Really? How many times have you been called a name and it really changed your mind? It just never happens. And so you want to play the long game and create that relationship where you can stay at the table, table of reconciliation. There's some yeah, buts, or what ifs. Things like, am I being a peacemaker or a peacekeeper? Am I protecting the room? You know, there are times when the story is you need to stand up for those that are weaker or don't have a voice. I can't tell you when to do that and when not to do that, because there are times, the only way I've ever been able to evaluate myself is when I reflect back and I think, man, I should have stood up stronger, or nope, I jumped in there too much. I don't know that, but there are times when, candidly, I'm such a chicken that when I think I'm making peace, I'm really trying to just keep the peace so I don't have to argue with anybody. I don't know where that is, so you'll have to figure out where that line is for you. Candidly, most of the time when I want to fight back, it's more my ego and not because I'm really being a peacemaker. But that's just me. One of the couple of things, yeah, buts, or what ifs, just want to encourage you, don't build resistance by using demeaning tones and words. So things like this. I disagree with you. And so creating walls immediately. How about this? You know, can I share with you, I have a different view. Or, hey, here's another angle at this thing. Can we talk about it? So just sometimes just using a different phrase rather than just, coming at somebody. When Douglas MacArthur once said our worst leaders are one-dimensional leaders, that just means that there are some, bless them, that they only know one thing to do, and that is ram at you and come at you. Well, good for you. I'm glad you feel better. But those of us who are leaders of leaders and influence bunch of others need to continue to develop a nuance in our leadership so we can proceed, but yet not have to build all these walls and have to work through them. So there's a lot of yeah, buts, and what ifs. I hope you'll capture those thoughts here. I mean, I came with, well, let me give you 3 points, and I thought, no. Today, I'm sitting back there with this yeah, buts, and what ifs. And so I want to encourage you to have some place where you could say, yeah, but tell me about, or what happens if, or when somebody says this or not says that. I want to encourage you to have a place where you could do that. Had a conversation at Penny University the other day with a friend, but it was, we see things differently about certain things. And so it was really good to say, well, tell me so how do you see it? And I asked him, well, how do you see it? How do you see that? And we were able to have this back and forth in conversation. He didn't change my mind. I didn't change him. And that really was not the point. The point was to just hear each other and continue to have dialogue and friendship. So I want to encourage us who are a part here to continue to be peacemakers, to continue to figure out how to stay at the line of reconciliation and line of relationship. And yeah, sometimes you have to eat it. Eat your ego. Sometimes you have to eat it. Sometimes you do. But I can tell you, in this generation, and America has always been mean when it comes to politics. I was even Googling earlier today. Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton, I mean, they were some nasty people to each other. And I spent a lot of time reading about the 1850s in America before the Civil War. Whew! So it's always been a part of our DNA. But how about if we do it differently? So that's my thoughts. And let me know how it goes. We'll be around the community together. We're making a difference, all of us together, right? Hey, just real quick, I want to let you know, sometimes if you say, what the heck does City Ministry Network do? Here's our impact report. It's in the back. And people always ask me, well, Marvin, what do you do? Nothing. So impact report. I want to let you know, too, our friend Wanda Jones back there is having a fundraiser, a resource raising event, and her information is back. And, I was thinking about her this morning. I'm not sure how old you are, Wanda. I know she's in a winter of her life like I am. But to have somebody in a winter of her life still dreaming and creating and sticking her neck out and growing, that's amazing. Because there's a lot of us, yeah. So there's a lot of us in the winter of our life, and I'm spending a bunch of time with men, especially in my season, where they don't know what to do with themselves because they just have lost their purpose. And so that sure is not what's happening with Wanda. So keep at it. Finally, before we finish, just 2 things. Yeah, John's going to come on up here, wherever he is. But, LLI. So next month, we've got the privilege of having Dr. Vanessa Buitrago, who's the brand new superintendent of schools for Modesto City Schools, will be with us. So whether you're public ed, you're not public ed, you're a charter, you're homeschool, whatever it is, she'll be a part with us. And we've gotten some incredible time together, and we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. She'll be talking about her first 100 days and what she is working on her first 100 days, a lot of listening, as well as what she values in going forward in our Modesto City Schools system. 35,000 kids, something like that. And so it really is going to impact who we are and what we do. I'm looking forward to hearing her. So come back, bring somebody with you to hear her. Let's start this dialogue. And then this Saturday, Dr. Torres.
Doctor? Yikes. That's not true. If I subscribe you something, don't take it. because I'm not a doctor. Anyways, yeah, so we got our graduation coming up on Saturday. It's this Saturday coming up on August 9th. Man, we would love for you to join us. There's actually invitations. I was going to be like Oprah and like, you get an invitation, but I didn't want to take anybody's eye out, so we won't do that. But there's invitations on the back. I'll be back there to ask me questions. There's also places where you can scan if you want to be a part of LLI or like would like to apply or just talk to me. I'll be back there. We'd love to talk with you. But man, to fill up that room for our graduates would be amazing. It's a lot of fun. There'll be some charcuterie boards afterwards and some drinks and things like that. So please, if you're free this Saturday, come and join us.
And it is, thank you. Yeah. So Noemi's graduating wherever she was. She did announcements. Some of the young women that are here graduated last year. And because it's called, oh, there you are, Noemi. Because you're Latino leadership, we invite everybody. So you know what? If you think you want to be a part and you're not Latino or Latinx, whatever we are, welcome. Doug Ridenauer, I think that'd be great for you to be a part. Doug's my friend. Yeah, you're going to make fun of me later. I know that. So, all right, let me pray for us and then we'll be done. Lord, creating us a spirit of what it means to be a peacemaker. You know, I don't always know what that is, looks like, and boy, I just mess it up. But in this season of polarizing thoughts and social media that has just, really accelerates the divisions. That's just the world we live in. So how do we cope with it? How do we deal with it? How do we utilize it and build a better world for our kids? Grant us wisdom, Lord, and to have a place where we can have our yeah buts and what ifs answered and continue to do all we can to be better listeners, to hear each other. In my Lord's name I pray. Amen. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Good job, Noise.